Okay, welcome to the GearScout Podcast, where we talk tactical and things that go bang. My name's Christian Lowe, and with me today, again, as always, is my number one shooting partner, Chris Cleary. How's it going, Chris?
I am excellent. How are you, sir?
Darn good. Look, I had to tear up my script this week because the ground shook beneath the gun world's feet with a huge announcement from a gun maker that's killing it this year. And like a Matryoshka doll, you know, those are those Russian dolls that have like little dolls embedded in it.
Big words. I'm glad you described it for our listeners.
There's an even bigger surprise sitting right there nestled in the middle of this announcement. So what do you say, Chris? Should we get started?
We should get started. And
let's get started. But first,
I know
let's
you're
talk
giddy.
a little bit about what's going on in our tactical lives this week. Chris, anything, any kind of putastic funness that you've been up to, or anything cool to talk about other than the Navy game, Army-Navy game where Navy destroyed Army?
Army-Navy game. So, all right, so we'll talk about the Army-Navy game for 2 minutes. Great game. Navy beat Army's 3-game winning streak, which was funny because going into as they're doing all the television before it, they'd said, and the last time Navy had lost to Army 4 years in a row was the class of 1996, which was my class. So that was the funny thing. So all the televisors got to take a shot at me and my entire class as the last bunch of midshipmen who couldn't win against Army for 4 years in a row. But the streak is broken. You
distinguish yourself, Chris, as always.
That's right. The streak is broken. All is right with the world. That quarterback, Navy quarterback, can't remember his name, but what an amazing performance he put on. He really did.
Yeah.
Carry Navy on his shoulders, both figuratively and literally. And
he's kind of a hero on that team, right? Like, people dig that guy.
Kind of a hero. He was amazing. And the funny thing was, the coach benched him last year. Like, apparently, I don't know the whole story, but I mean, he was saying stuff about it. Apparently, he didn't get a lot of playing time last year. And then he went out and, for all intent and purposes, kind of won the game almost single-handedly.
Yeah.
It was fun to watch.
Well, that's cool. I mean, I root for Navy because they're local. And I've been to the Army-Navy game before. There was a time when I wanted to be a naval aviator, and that didn't really work out. But my sympathies lie, and they have a very good lacrosse team too, which I like to watch. Well, while you were basking in the glory of the Navy victory, I shot a match, brother.
You told me about it. Yeah, and you did well.
It was fun. Look, it's kind of cool. It's sort of a fun story. Maybe like 4 years, there's this little indoor range that's actually near Andrews Air Force Base. They've changed the name. I think it was bought by many iterations downstream from Blackwater. Blackwater is now called Academy with an I. This range is owned by Academy. So, they've become a training company that does everything from, law enforcement, first responder, to like all kinds of other stuff. And this range is called Academy, and it's owned, I assume, by the same company. It's got the same logo and all that kind of stuff.
It's no longer the Maryland Small Arms Range?
That's it. That's what it used to be called.
That's news to me.
Yeah,
okay.
So now it's called Academy, and it's a little indoor range. And 4 or 5 years ago, there was a couple USPSA types that were running a practice night on Wednesday nights out there. And you could pay, $20, and we'd set up some stages and, do some shooting, but it wasn't like a match or anything like that. And I really enjoyed it because during the cold months, it's kind of a drag to be shooting a match outside in the cold, and it's tougher for me these days with the kids and sports to be doing weekend matches, and I like weekday matches, and work gets in the way, blah, blah, blah. But this one, they just started up a series where they're going to be doing evening matches during the week. And they will also be they're going to start in January doing 2 matches a week. One will always be a classifier, and the other will always be a match. So,
really? Okay.
And it's IDPA. They may, sort of veer into USPSA, but who the heck cares, man? Look, it was 6 stages. We broke down the stages like after each one and like reset them for the so you set up 3 stages, and then you broke down stage 1 for stage 4, and then so on, right? And it was darn fun. There were like 9 of us, which is a good small squad, and we rolled through. We started like 6:30, 6:15, ended by 9 o'clock, 9:15, something like that. Very low-end beginner shooters, all the way to guys that you and I know who we've competed against that always win matches there. And it was a ball. It's convenient. I can drive there from work pretty quickly. I'm so excited about it. And it's the best showing I've ever had in any match. I got 3rd place.
No, that's amazing. That is a good range. I've shot there a bunch of times when I was with the Maryland Small Arms Range.
Yeah.
But, hey, 3rd place, man.
Yeah, plenty of
there?
props. Plenty of barrels and, things that we can, the last stage was a really fun, like USPSA style hose fest. I mean, it was, there might've been like 9 targets or something like that, and barriers and all that kind of stuff. I mean, look, the guys running it, they're all about the fun of it. They seem very excited about it. That practice day that I did like 4 years ago or 5 years ago, they never like followed up on it, and I kept pinging them like, hey, what's going on, and no response and all this kind of stuff. And I'm just so glad to have this opportunity. I hadn't shot a match since October, since you and I shot that 3-gun match, and
Yep.
It's a perishable skill. I mean, it is not something that like you just jump on a bike and keep going. And I hadn't really done any practice, any dry fire or anything like that. So I was slow to ramp up, but I'm glad to be getting back into it, and have something during the winter months that are totally doable. And yeah, I mean, obviously you're not working like big bays or anything like that where you can have some weird, cool stuff and all that. But hey, man, it's about accuracy, speed, shaving off, milliseconds of your time, and practice, really good practical practice. So I was really psyched about that, and I hope you'll be able to join me on one of those.
I should be at the next one.
Yeah.
I'm hoping to get the next one.
Yeah. Well, the next one I'm going to do is a classifier, because I want to get a classification for PCC.
Oh, so would they let you do PCC there as well?
Yes, I talked to him about it, and so I got to work with him a little bit, because I think PCC classifier requires 25 yards. So I don't know. It probably is 25 yards. We have to go to the very end of the...
Of those 2 bays, there's a 50-yard bay. There's rifle bays.
We were in one big bay. So we were in one main room. All of the tables were swung up and all that kind of stuff. So it was like a 50-yard auditorium kind of. Or maybe a 25-yard auditorium.
Yeah, there's a rifle room with about 6 tables. Actually, it is 6 tables.
Okay.
That goes out to 50 yards.
Okay.
And then next to it, you were in the pistol bay, which is, I think there's like 20 tables in there.
It must have been, yeah. That must have been it. And so everything was cleared out, and we used that room to do the shooting. The interesting thing about it, Chris, something I hadn't remembered, it gets kind of smoky in there. There's some ventilation, but like, you're in there for 3.5 hours basically, or 3 hours, and there's 9 people shooting hundreds of rounds, and the ventilation system works, but like it still gets a little,
So let me ask you questions. Was it IDPA or USPS?
It was IDPA.
So it's all 10. So my only gripe with pistol caliber carbine class with IDPA is still the 10 round restriction on the magazines.
Someone needs to correct us on the rules here. There's a 10-round restriction on the first mag, and then after that, you can have as much as you want. It's division capacity. So like if I'm in stock service pistol and I have a 15-round mag, I get to use 15-round mag.
Wait a minute. Are you sure?
Yeah. I'm not sure.
I've only ever...
I'm not sure.
All right, we got to look at the rules.
But I'm almost 100% sure. I'm 93.5% sure. So I've never run a match where I haven't had, like, I ran my SIG at the state match, and I was running an 11 round mag for the first string or whatever, and then all my reloads were my big SIG mags, which were 19 rounds.
Huh. Now I've got it. Now I'm confused. All right, somebody will correct us on this.
I mean, a listener might need to correct us on this, but I've never been penalized for running more than 10 rounds on the second mag.
Huh. All right.
And it's division capacity, so it's like if you're in, and the beauty of being in carry optics division is it's almost like ESP, enhanced service pistol division, which means you can run magwell adapters, you can have stippling and all kinds of stuff on, you can modify your trigger, all that kind of stuff.
All right. Well, now I'm kind of like paging for something we're talking, so it's driving me crazy. But anyways, continue.
Well, I'll continue. Now, before we hit the news, okay, the big news of the day, we're going to talk very briefly about the big news of like a couple weeks ago. We're recording this a couple weeks after this happened. And we'll do a more fulsome discussion of this. But Glock had a gigantic announcement that I was able to attend their media day down in Georgia where they did this announcement, and they all kinds of secrecy, and their head of the company or head of the American division of their company was talking about how this would really change the whole category and all this kind of stuff, and we were all like, ooh, what is it? And I was thinking like hunting or like a rifle or something like that. Glock 44, a 22.
Now, do you think they played with the numbers on that one for a long time? Do you think I'm just thinking, is there a play? Is it coincident that it's a 24?
22 times 2 equals 44. I don't know.
Which is a small round, and the 44 Magnum is a big round. I don't know. Do you think they're being cute there?
It's like when they did the Glock 45, and it's still a 9mm, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So, it's pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie. Like, it's a Glock, right? They did a shit ton of testing on the ammo. Most 22s are totally unreliable because 22 ammo is just very hard to standardize, and it's the exact same size as a Glock 19, which for you and me, or for you particularly, because you're a big Glock guy, right? It's a great training gun, right? So you can do a ton of great pistol drills, all that kind of stuff using cheap 22 ammunition. Your magazines fit in your magazine holders. Your handgun, the Glock 44 will fit in your Glock 19 holsters, like all that kind of stuff. That's kind of cool. I mean, I can see the point on that, and on all of their like sort of back end, research and testing on different types of ammo. 12,000 rounds through this thing of different varying manufacturers of ammo, and testing reliability and making sure that it worked okay. But a couple of us were sort of commenting that like they could have just sent us a press release on this, and it's not as tectonic as the next thing we'll be talking about. But and Chris, I'll let you. Let me just interrupt you.
Chime in on the Glock thing.
I've got one coming in the mail. We'll do some. Yeah, we'll have some fun with it. I'm also coming with it is a threaded barrel, so that'll be kind of fun. Throw a can on the end of that thing and play around. Look, if you have a Glock 19, it's kind of one of those things you might as well get the Glock 44 because you'll have the 22 version. And then also, we each of us and a lot of the listeners, we take noobs to the range. Always better to run a 22 handgun than a 9mm handgun, right? I mean, that is super intimidating. The recoil, the noise, all that kind of stuff. People get a little freaked out, and so this will be kind of cool for bringing in new people to this hobby.
Yeah, and if the trigger pull and stuff is the same, it would help you. I mean, you're not managing recoil as much, which is good for somebody to learn. And if you're out there just practicing, I guess one of the criticisms was that you can only get a 10-round magazine.
For now.
But
go ahead.
Somebody was also saying that it's harder to stack 22 caliber rounds because of the rim fire to go really beyond 10.
That's the problem.
It's not perfect.
That's the problem. So, I mean, it's doable, and they're working on one, and they'll release one soon. But my understanding from the folks that I talked to about that, it was a criticism of the media guys that were down there, and my understanding from them was because of the shape of the 22 round, it's harder to double stack 22s. Now, there are manufacturers that do it, but you know, they started with a straight, you know, and it's got one of those tabs on it where you can pull the spring down and all that kind of stuff.
Drop them in,
and,
yeah.
You know, yeah.
I'm a Glock guy. It's all we ever talk about. I never shut up about it. I'm sure I will eventually own one. It's not on my immediate to get list, so I'm definitely curious to shooting yours. Although I will say I do like the 22 caliber for my girls and my wife and handgun familiarity. So, and that's, you know, and again, when the zombies come, I just got Glocks in the house, so they can school up on the 22, work on sight picture, work on trigger pull.
Speaking of zombies, I do hear from a reliable source in that company that there are units who run Glocks that wanted a 22 as a finisher.
I wouldn't surprise me.
So, and this is not someone who is prone to hyperbole. So,
yeah. All right. Now I know you just did that to placate me to talk about Glock for a little bit. So we scratched the Glock itches, the Glock fanboy.
Okay.
The mall ninja of the group here.
Yeah.
I know you just busted at the seams. Go.
All right. So here is the news that made the Earth tilt a little bit on its axis today. And I don't really like to say what day we're recording this podcast because people will give me shit for, you know, being late and all that kind of stuff. But Sig Sauer. As many of you know, I kind of dig Sig. They've got like really sexy guns. You know, I've become friends with the folks that work there. I'm quick to criticize things. I'm journalistic up the middle, but it's hard for me to kind of say that like they're fucking up because what they got going on is no joke. They just released their first U.S. bolt gun, and it's pretty awesome. But the thing that's really crazy about it, we'll talk about in a second. All right, so this bolt gun is called the Cross. All right, and it's a bolt gun that has a one piece, you know, action on it, right? So it's not a true chassis gun. You don't bed down your, you know, action and barrel in the chassis itself. It's a one-piece receiver. It has a two-stage match trigger that will adjust from 2.5 pounds to 4 pounds. It's got a full M-lock rail running from the receiver up, you know, obviously up to the end of the barrel. I don't know 100% what kind of magazines it takes. I assume it will take either SR25 or PMags.
Actually, incorrect. AICS.
Yeah, what is that?
AICS mags.
Do you know what those are? Huh?
I think it's the same thing. I have a.
Is it a standardization kind of acronym or something?
Yeah, I don't know what that means. Somebody will beat us up because we should know what that means.
Yeah, we should know what that means.
It looks like I'm looking at the pictures. It looks like it's a like a Magpul mag, but
yeah, I mean, when we sort of walk down this road in a little bit, I'll describe why I think they're probably PMags or PMag equivalents. And it's a brand new stock, one of these sort of really skeletonized precision rifle stocks with a push button folding mechanism. So the we'll get into calibers, but the 308 version of this, it packs down to 25 inches, okay, which is pretty for a 16-inch barrel, which is pretty freaking awesome. it has a 60 degree or 65 or 60 degree bolt throw, which is not my favorite thing, but it does have a replacement. You know, you can change out the bolt handle and all that, or the whatever, fucking bolt handle, huh?
Says the gun guys, whatever.
Yeah. You know, one of those goddamn things that you maneuver that thing. But the thing that really just shook the ground beneath the feet was not only that Sig just released a bolt gun, but that, what does that thing fucking look like, Chris?
It looks like the Fix, my friends. As a matter of fact, I got them up on the website. I'm looking at them side by side.
Side by fucking side, dude. I mean, it is like the fanboys and the gun nuts are gonna go to war over this thing. I mean, and this is like what, you know, mid-December kind of time frame. So we're about a month away from fucking SHOT Show, and
oh shit, yeah,
it's on. I mean, you got about a month for people to start like pulling their gloves off and getting all MMA on this thing, you know, because I mean. And now, Chris, I'm really curious to hear what you think about this, because you had been really drooling over the Fix.
So I was
tell our listeners what, you know, when you talk about your fixation with the Fix, why you'll probably drift over into this zone, okay? And it's the price point.
Well, so true, right? So I'm looking at both of them online as we speak. You know that had work not got in the way, and I went up to New Hampshire to visit you, and you built a Fix, I was prepared to put money down. I was going to buy a Fix when we went to New Hampshire. I was going to bring it home with me, and I was going to be very, very excited. You showing me this rifle right now, which apparently, again, you've hinted at the price point. This rifle is going to be somewhere in the $1,600 MSRP range, $1,600, $1,700. The Fix is closer to a $3,000 rifle. Look at, it's hard to argue that. Now, all right, now that I'm looking at both of them, though, I'm not going to lie to you. I actually think the Fix is a little sexier looking. I actually think the Fix looks a little cleaner. I actually like the way the bolt slide, the kind of the bolt works on the Fix a little nicer.
Yeah.
This is, you know, the Fix had like this proprietary bolt with and it slid more on a rail than actually kind of going. The Cross rifle looks like a traditional bolt gun, like any other bolt gun you'd ever had.
Yep.
Outside of that, the guns look very, very identical.
Yep.
Look, they're both sexy. They're both light. They both basically solve the same problem. And what we were talking about is, well, here's the other thing with a Fix rifle. Unless you go up to the factory and are willing to make one there and take a trip to New Hampshire, all this other stuff, you're going to wait a year for it.
Yeah. It's like a fucking NFA item.
That's right. So the Cross rifle, like anything big gun company, one of the things they, you know, mass production, you know, they're making weapons for the Army. They know how to mass produce things. So you'll be able to get your hands on a Cross rifle, you know, and if MSRP is $1,600, $1,700, you're probably buying it for $1,400, $1,300, right? Nobody pays MSRP.
Maybe, I don't know.
Well, maybe in the beginning you'll pay SMRP until they start to get on the market, and then the price will come down. Whatever. The point is, for $1,500, you're probably into this gun, as opposed to $3,000. And look at, for all of us people who know that, what's the words I'm looking for? Rushing. My wife beats me about all this all the time. I have to have it.
Yeah.
You know, you can get your hands on this quickly. And if it's at SHOT Show, well, you know it's going to be at SHOT Show, obviously, if they released it.
Yeah.
And doesn't Sig have Sig's one of the main things you go out there to do, to go to their tent on the shooting day, right?
Yeah. So I'm one of the media people that are invited to their range day on the Sunday before the week of SHOT Show. So I'll get a chance to go shoot this when I'm out there. So any of the listeners here, make sure that you keep your eye on GearScout YouTube, because we'll be loading videos up daily there on the stuff that I see both at the Sig Sauer range day and then at the industry day at the range on Monday for the rest of the SHOT the companies that are at SHOT. A couple of details about this, Chris, that you're alluding to. One is the MSRP is $1,779. I don't know if that has to do, is that like 1779? Is that when the United States Army was founded or something?
That's a good one.
Or was that 1775? I don't remember. Anyway,
that is a
it seems there's a little bit of an illusion going on there. According to my sources, it will be available starting in the summer, so in June, July kind of time frame, like for most dealers and purchasers and that sort of thing. And another interesting thing about it is it's a big pivot for SIG in that this is their entry point into the hunting community. Okay. They have not really had a very aggressive sort of marketing and product initiative into the hunting world. And what preceded this announcement was SIG's announcement of bringing aboard some kind of well-known sort of in the kind of guns and ammo set, field and stream set hunters, as well as some of the newer hunters into their kind of industry team of outdoor of hunters who will presumably use this rifle on videos that they create and all that kind of stuff. And SIG is offering this rifle in both black and in a camouflage developed by a really cool company called First Light, Lite. The camo pattern's called Cypher. I was introduced to First Light many years ago when they first started, and I was working for an outdoor publishing company, and I went to the Archery Trade Association show, and I met these guys, and they are somewhat analogous, if people are into this kind of thing, to a company called Sitka. They make hunting gear that is really tailored for outdoorsmen and hunters that do kind of extreme hunting, right? Like they're, hiking up pretty steep mountains, hunting goats. They're going after elk with archery equipment. And their camo pattern, while I'm a little bit of a camo snob, I don't know how science-based it is. It's pretty cool, and their gear is really cool, and they're a cool company. So that was an interesting alliance that, and I think a smart one for SIG to do with kind of marketing their the hunting version of their rifle. Now, I have one main criticism. All right. I'll preface this by saying I have been in touch with SIG about this. I'm trying to schedule an interview with the product manager up there, and I'll ask some questions about this, and I will be sure to include this in whatever episode follows that talk. But the one of the things that is different about this rifle and the Q rifle, which I think Q has a very good design point on, is, at least in what I can see here, now there's some conflicting information about this. The release says sort of one thing, the product page says another. It does not have a full Picatinny rail running up the entire forend, which I think is a big miss. All right, I think that you might want optics up there, you might want spotters up there, you might want to extend that scope with a rangefinder or if you're a predator hunter, to have more than just the scope. You have a night or a night optic behind the scope or something. I don't see any reason not to have that rail extending all the way to the end, and that I think is a little bit of a miss.
Is that so? Because I'm looking. Oh yeah, right. So the fix does go all the way out.
Yeah. And the fix, interestingly, uses a different attachment mechanism for anything that you want on the rail, on the sides of the rail. They have a sort of proprietary, screw-in attachment mechanism on there where you can screw in rail sections and that sort of thing. They feel like that makes it integrally more solid. And this, of course, uses M-LOK, the SIG one.
So the other thing that I don't know if you want to come up, you can wave me off, but so it's working now. So earlier today when you sent me the link, I went to Sig's page and I was looking at the gun and I was trying to look at the fix, and the fix link was broken. You couldn't get to the fix gun on Q's webpage. And I didn't know if they had taken it down or they were
people might be pinging it.
It was being crashed. So so the fix, I'm looking at their page now. It's a $3,300 rifle.
Yeah.
That's an expensive piece of gear.
No joke. And this thing's $1,500 cheaper. Now, one of the things about the SIG rifle, you're basically building, or I'm sorry, about the Q rifle is you're basically getting a custom built gun, right? Q doesn't make any of the parts, right? They source the parts. They're customized, right? But they source the parts and then assemble the rifle. I assembled a fix, and it is elegant as shit. It is really cool. It's only a few parts. It's gorgeous. And I'm with you. The sex appeal of that thing, it's pretty great. But there's something about paying $1,500 less for this kind of capability. And the interesting thing is, they really are taking a jab at Q in their marketing on this, because they're like, in their marketing, they're saying, for precision shooters, heavy is good. For hunters, light is good. And we're trying to make this lighter, and we can do the precision with lighter and make it a good precision rifle and make it a good hunting rifle. And that is precisely what Kevin Brittingham says about his fixed rifle. He uses it for hunting down on his farm in Georgia all the time. I would use this for hunting without any question, particularly like a 16-inch barreled 308.
So I'm looking at the specs right now. So it's actually, it's a tad heavier than the Q.
No, it's lighter than the Q.
Well, then the Q went and changed. So Q, the 16-inch barrel, 308 wind specs, weight 6.3 pounds. The 308 Winchester 16-inch barrel, 6.5.
Yeah.
And
so we're talking 0.2 of a pound heavier.
Yeah, all for, you wouldn't notice that carrying it around.
Yeah.
6.5 Creedmoor is 6.8. So the 6.5 Creedmoor, because you have up to a longer barrel, 18-inch barrel.
Yeah, so stop right there. And this is sort of the cool thing. This is the Matryoshka doll thing right here, okay? So the really cool thing about this is not that they're offering it in a 16-inch 308, an 18-inch 308, a 18-inch 6.5 Creedmoor, and both of those in and the 6.5 Creedmoor, I think, is in the a 308 version in the camo, and a 6.5 Creedmoor in the camo. Let me double check. Yes. The 6.5 only comes in 18-inch, but SIG is also offering it in their new 277 Fury caliber. All right. The 277 Fury is the round that SIG has developed for the Army's next generation squad weapon. It's essentially a 6.8 by 52. So what is it? Our 51. So what is a 7.62 NATO? It's 7.62 by 51.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's a.
Yes.
Let me double check that.
Yes.
It's a 7.62 by 39 is the Russian
AK round, and 51. It's 7.62 by 51.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that is, and that round, the Fury round, the 277 Fury, is a dual metal, bimetal case. You know, it has a steel base that can handle the pressure of the smaller case with the powder load and the bigger bullet and all that kind of stuff. So, or smaller bullet but bigger powder, whatever, man. It's one of those deals where you're throwing a shit ton of muzzle velocity out there in the same size case that a 7.62 has. And so that bimetal construction helps deal with the pressure variance. That is very big news, because that is Sig saying we're starting a whole new caliber. And this is another thing that's going to like dig underneath
Brittingham, because
right?
he's got
because Brittingham, and I think the guy's brilliant, and I absolutely rely on his expertise. You know, he's brash, he's opinionated, so am I love that. But it's going to really get under his skin, I bet, that they're like one-upping him on getting this caliber out there and marketing it, and I don't know if they'll Sammy spec it, but they might, before his 8.6 Creedmoor / 8.6 Blackout.
Do you see any legal stuff coming out of this?
Okay, so this is something that our listeners are going to have to like stay tuned about, all right? So I'm only going to say right now, because I haven't agreed to the attribution here, but sources are telling me that there was definitely some folks who had worked at Q that I don't know 100% if they worked at Q on the fix, but they were working at Q when the fix was released in 2017, that now work at Sig and could have had some kind of influence on this, on the specs and the design of this rifle.
That's the most interesting thing.
So that is the tectonic kind of earthquake that is rumbling beneath us.
Yeah, and does he let that fly?
Because let's not forget, Kevin Brittingham went to Sig to start their suppressor business, right?
Yep.
And left after about a year and started his own company with several top high-end people from Sig, some of whom went back. I mean, the guy who's running the next generation squad weapon program at Sig left Sig to start Q.
Yeah, I don't know how you talk through that. I mean, it's
war.
You know, corporate espionage. You know,
Totally.
It's crazy.
I don't even know what's going to happen. We're going to feel the reverberations, I think. This is just like literally today this broke. And I can't wait to see the comments and on our Facebook posts, on Instagram, like what's going to happen, you know, like, you know, the YouTubers who do all the like YouTube, you know, opinion stuff about, you know, new guns and all that kind of stuff, like the Gun Collective and those guys, like, and SHOT Show is going to be a shit show on this one. I mean, it is going to be crazy. And I know, well, I'm fairly sure that Q and those guys won't even really be there at SHOT Show like they were in 2017 when they released the fix, but they weren't since then. So I don't know what is going to happen, or I don't.
They don't have any big releases, so it's just
yeah.
Oh, so I looked it up.
All right.
1779. It was a pretty significant day. It's when John Dickinson was appointed to the delegate for Delaware in the Continental Congress.
I don't know anything about that guy.
Yeah, I can't
Never heard
imagine.
of him.
It was also the year that Spain declared war on Great Britain.
Okay, so that might have something to do with it.
Yeah, I don't know if that has any real significance.
But maybe there was some significant battle up in New Hampshire or something like that. I don't know. It seems a little like, you know, there has to be something significant.
It's a weird price number. You're right.
Huh?
Yeah. You're right. It's a weird number to price something out at.
But I'm kind of excited about it. I mean, I'm really would, I'm a slightly bummed. I think I'd like a 6.5 with a 16-inch barrel. I don't know if that is the right barrel length to do for something like this.
Yeah, I think that has a completely to do with the ballistics of that 6.5 round, that it needs the longer barrel. I've always seen a 6.5 Creedmoor with an 18-inch barrel.
Yeah, maybe. I'm not 100% sure, but because I'd like to turn, you and I have talked about this before. I've got the 6.5 Grendel that I've, maneuvered into a hunting rifle, and I'd like to be, if I'm going to shoot precision with a 6.5, I'd like to hunt with a 6.5. So, an 18-inch barrel is kind of long to be carrying around hunting. I'd like a 16-inch barrel, but maybe that's the best. I did ping the guys at Sig, and I'm like, what should I do? Should I do that 277 Fury, in a 16-inch barrel? Like, that'd be kind of rad. One of the points that someone made was that round might be a little expensive to start out, right? Like, so, and so if you're going to shoot a lot, there's a shit ton of 6.5 Creedmoor out there. There's hunting rounds in 6.5 Creedmoor. There's precision rifle, competition rounds, match rounds in 6.5 Creedmoor. It's probably a better way to go.
Yeah, you had convinced me that if I was going to make a fix, I was going to do a fix in 6.5, even though I'm cheap and I just like shooting 308.
Gotta. 308's a dog.
Yeah, so if I was going to do this, I'd probably do it in 6.5. Although you get the more compact with and I don't know anything about the 277. You were telling me about it, but I haven't really done any research on it.
Yeah. No, it's not if you're getting one, you are getting one. No, don't even fucking joke with me about this shit. Like, get rid of your. I'm gonna get. Well, I'm not gonna say it because I'm not gonna put myself on record, but I may get rid of my current 6.5 Creedmoor, which if you go back into the back catalog of this podcast, you'll know what it is. Like, I will gun broker that thing and buy one of these just as soon as they're available, because this is kind of the configuration I like, and if it's the same kind of fixed technology in there, sold. I mean, it's really the fix is a really cool gun. So if I can get a fix for a slight, like a fix minus for $1,500 less, I'm fine with that.
God, yeah. Well, it's going to be interesting days. I can't wait to see the first one.
You got to do it. You got to do it. All right. Well, that might wrap it up for this episode of the GearScout Podcast. Thanks for joining us. Look, we got a ton of content on YouTube. We got a really quick kind of first look video on the Glock 44, just the specs and a little bit of shooting footage from the media event we were at. We'll have more comprehensive video on that after we've taken out to the range and played around with it a little bit. And also be sure to check out Instagram. That's a kind of a fun place. There's a lot of comments, a lot of discussion. We had a lot of great discussion on the GearScout Facebook page about the Glock 44 release and some hilarious comments. Also, be sure to go to the GearScout website. We have instituted a new series, Throwback Thursday series. And the cool thing is we've teamed up with an amazing writer at our sister company, HistoryNet. This guy is like totally dialed in to like firearms history. And so we're going to have a series every single Wednesday. We'll have a new article about a cool firearm from sort of more of the modern era, right? Like, I'm not talking like, Wild West, six guns and shit like that. I'm talking like our first article was about the first assault weapon ever, the assault rifle ever made, the STG-44, and the precursor, the STG-43. Our next one is going to be about the Soviet RPD. We're also going to swing over and check out that the glorious M60 machine gun. We're looking at did you know that the PP, it's called the PP Shah, the Pipa Shah, based on the Russian lettering of their submachine gun that preceded the AK-47 was actually designed by the Finns. We're looking at the Galil, we're looking at the FAL, and a ton of other great things. And this guy's an incredible researcher, a great writer. So if you're in nerd out on classic, 20th century firearms, you should definitely check out the website and see our Throwback Thursday series. Chris, as always, an awesome show. Great talking with you. I'm glad we had some fun news to talk about. And don't worry, we'll talk about the Glock 44. We'll devote plenty of time to that.
Can't wait.
All right, dude. All right, thanks for joining us on the GearScout Podcast. Be sure to check out all of our other content. Subscribe, leave a review, tell your friends. Thanks for joining us.